thank you so much. It is such an honor and privilege to be here to experience this pioneer event. And so much thanks to Nada and Shima and all the organizers and all of you for this invitation to Egypt and for just making this happen. It's really an unbelievable experience. So I'm going to talk about how to be a good role model. And I kind of, when I received the topic, I thought it was funny to receive this topic because I don't think I've ever been asked, and I don't know that people usually are asked, how do you be a good role model? We ask how to be a mentor and how to be a sponsor, but not how to be a good role model. And more importantly, I don't know that I thought of myself that way. My disclosures, in fact, are not company related. They're the fact that I really had no intention to be a role model when I started this. Again, didn't think of myself that way till getting here. And the thoughts that I'm going to talk about are really my opinion and what I've learned from others, not necessarily professional training in leadership development. So again, my first question was, am I a role model? Because when I think about role models, I think about all of these famous women and many men as well, but I decided to highlight the women here who have pioneered in science, in arts, in protecting our civil rights, human rights, making sure that our countries are running well in the face of crisis. And now today, after this talk and after meeting her, I would easily add Dr. Rasha to this slide. But certainly, and these women and role models that we think of are rewarded and recognized by things like Nobel Prizes and gold medals. So I think it was hard for me to think about, and I really had to ask, what is a role model? What's the definition? Well, there are a few out there. For example, Webster Dictionary, a person whose behavior in a particular role is imitated by others. Someone who is admired for and whose behavior they try to copy. Someone who's worthy of imitation. Someone who inspires others. So a lot of different concepts here. I think I'd like to move away from the idea about copying someone or imitating someone, but rather focus on inspiring people. I think of a role model as someone who inspires others and shows them through their actions how to achieve a goal. I think specifically when we talk about women in endoscopy, we have to think about the most coveted role model are those that are seen on stage as performing endoscopic procedures, because for us that's our pinnacle of achievement sometimes, especially in endoscopy. And so for many of us, being able to see someone who we identify with being successful at what they do and getting to do what they love to do, that I think is an ideal role model, especially for women in endoscopy. But I think we should think about the fact that role models are not just all the people I showed you on that slide. We are all role models in many different ways. Even at home, parents, you are role models to your children, and sometimes maybe children can be role models to parents. At work, we are role models to our students, our colleagues, our team members like our nurses, our technicians, everybody who is working with us to make success of our procedures. For directors and chiefs of divisions, you are role models to your entire team in helping them build their careers. And we have to always remember we should be role models for our patients as well, to care for their health and take care of themselves. So if we think about us all having the capacity to be role models, what does it take to become a role model? Most often, as I said earlier, it's not intentional. It's unconscious influence. You don't know, you're not aware of the impact that you have and that your behavior, your words have, and you are not aware of who your audience is. It was a funny story. We were just having dinner last night, and as I mentioned, I didn't really think of myself as a role model. And Shima reminded me that she heard me talk at a conference 5 years ago and was inspired. I didn't even know she was in the audience, and I didn't know that these words had that kind of impact. Even the ideas for this conference came from a dinner. So usually it's the result of the behaviors and beliefs that you learn from your family, culture, mentors, and sponsors. From prior experience dealing with challenges or adversity, how do you manage? What are the solutions you come up with? How have you been treated with people? How do you want to be treated? And learning about effective leadership. Ultimately, becoming a role model is about paying it forward, just putting out there those things that have helped you make it to where you are. What are some qualities that are coveted in good role models? Being authentic, that means being true to yourself. Do things to make yourself proud. Do things that you are passionate about, not what you think other people want to see or will admire. Always have integrity. Be honest, be transparent, and be consistent about the decisions you make and the behavior you have. Be empathetic, meaning understand what other people are feeling. Think about their perspectives and treat them with respect, upholding dignity of their dignity. Always be accountable and take responsibility and ownership for your decisions, your words, your behaviors. Be resilient, so if you face adversity, try not to only think about the things that have happened, but actually seek solutions to move forward. And positivity, always creating opportunity, even from adversity, and moving forward. And if you have these qualities, what are some practices you can do to practice being a good role model? Again, be authentic, be accountable, do the work. Don't just expect that we will be seen as role models. We have to deserve it, and we have to earn it. So build your merit. Always be present. Listen. Always practice listening first, acting later. Communicate your thoughts and why you make your decisions and why you do certain behaviors effectively, so people can understand what they can expect from you. And be respectful. It used to be treat people the way you want to be treated. But actually, we learned from a professional coach that we've had that it's really more about treating others the way they want to be treated. What does that mean? It means that you have listened, you are empathetic, you understand their perspective, you are open to understand what will make them feel good. Be consistent, so practice what you preach. Don't do one thing and say one thing and do another. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. That comes from a Peloton coach that I use a lot. Be an ally. For example, the men in the room can be allies for the women. If you see something that you think doesn't hold true with your values, speak up and try to make change and use your platform for others. Always innovate and find solutions instead of just pointing out the problems, and always strive to be better. There will definitely be challenges. Self-doubt will always be the biggest challenge. We always wonder if we're good enough, if we're saying the right thing. Will people like us? The fraud complex. I don't deserve to be here. I'm not good enough. I don't know how I got this job. I don't know how I succeeded in this. There will definitely be negativity from other people. Criticism is, I think, inherent always. Sometimes it has to do with just the fact that people are jealous that you have succeeded. And it's difficult sometimes to maintain balance and create boundaries when you are always in a place that you are seen. Remember, you don't know who is your audience and you don't know the people that you're making the impact on. That means you always have to be on. So maintaining that self-awareness can be challenging. What are some of the solutions? The first thing is maintain a network of support, of people that know you, know your values, know that why you're doing things. Always return to them to remind you of what those core values are. Write them down if you have to, so that you can always look at them and refer to them and remember why you're doing what you're doing. Develop some grounding methods to always remain stable when people start to criticize you and question you. Remember your why. Why are you doing these things? Learn to say no sometimes. If things aren't really reflective of your qualities, of your values, and what you want to achieve, learn to say no and establish boundaries. And giving regular reflection on the things that you've done, what the impact has been, this can be a helpful solution as well. So I just want to demonstrate, again, I didn't see myself as being a role model, but now when I look at it, my journey to be a role model. And I do say it as a journey because I think sometimes I like to think of learning as a process of starting somewhere and seeing the finish line, but it's really about the process of getting there. And this is my recent hike out of the Grand Canyon. I started at the river, 7.2 miles and 1 mile elevation to reach the rim. And for me, it really was a reflective process on everything that I've done over the years. So my journey in interventional endoscopy, I started my fellowship with great people at an institution that Steve is now at. I developed my passion for endoscopy from these mentors, and I was inspired by patients, the problems they had, the solutions that I could come up with. I had great mentors and sponsors who taught me certain behaviors, they taught me techniques, they taught me how to achieve my goals. I always wanted to learn more, and I started to take, as I became better and I felt more confident, I started to take risks and innovate to the point where I could develop my own career and be a mentor as well. So again, the passion for endoscopy came from the people I worked with, the mentors, such as Steve and others. But then I realized as I was developing the field, there were some challenges that were related to gender. For example, seeing only men in our courses doing things like live endoscopy, which I learned to love as something I wanted to do. So that made me really seek out who are other people like me that I could identify with. What are our common challenges? And through this, I met women around the world, and we developed groups and networks. We also sought out allies, like our male allies and our mentors who helped us get to where we were, and who were willing to also recognize that we needed to develop these platforms and help us push us forward to ultimately create and help empower women to continue on this field. And that's what led to Women in Endoscopy as a society creating these new platforms and recognizing our roles as role models. So the question is, when do you realize that you're a role model? Well, it's when you go from unconscious influence. So this was the dinner that we casually had a year ago where we started to talk about this concept of this meeting. And you go to conscious empowerment. This entire conference, it is conscious empowerment is when you are aware, and it involves being aware of the impact that you are having, the decisions that you're making, and the attitudes on personal growth and the empowerment of others. It is an active role that you take. So I see this conference as a call to action. We have brought you role models that are recognized for their talent, for their thoughts and their mentorship, and most importantly, we are seeing the rise of our new role models who have actually recognized the need for this kind of empowerment. And I really want to congratulate you both, the three of you actually, on really putting together an excellent program. Let's give a hand of applause. Nada told me that she did not want to recognize herself, and she didn't want to talk about herself, but I really think this is the important thing about being a role model, is recognizing when you're putting yourself second. And then this is my conclusion. If empowerment is about becoming aware of what you can do and what your actions mean to others, I am proposing a challenge to all of you. Just by being here and being part of this audience, are you ready to become role models, and do you accept the challenge? Let me hear a response if it's a yes. Okay, excellent. So with that, I will say thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you for challenging me to think about this question, and I wish you all the best of luck.